Ladies and gentlemen, Big Kerry
Kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News, and welcome to the whānau, Martin Bomber Bradbury. Good evening,
Respect.
sir.
Respect.
Hey man, how are you?
So excited. No human being could ever replace Chewy. No, so nothing that that's unsaid.
Yeah.
But it's a privilege to be able to step into such great men's shoes and out here with the real players. No half steppers in this crew. BHN.
Just so we all remember what Chewy looks like, here's one of our little latest. Chewy there. It's his little face. This is some of our new merch. We've got going to do this is too big, but we're going to do.
Oh, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
With, Magenta and Emily there as well.
Beautiful.
Hey man, so good to have you on here. Really looking forward to hanging out. Normally Chewy's the favourite, and you'll be the favourite tonight. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with sitting in the background. It's all right. I don't mind.
You're dead.
Yeah, I'll play dad. So thanks for coming on, man. I've just seen in the chat. Really, whoa, Bomber twice in 1 week. What a pleasure. So they've been keeping an eye on you. How's it going? How's Tuesday nights going? Bradbury.
I'm loving it. I'm just loving it. I'm loving having space to talk about the things in a way with the kind of critical narrative that I think is so necessary. It's a real privilege to be your entree on a Tuesday. And I just think that these new media cultures actually need to support each other.
Yeah.
If we're the last line of the fourth estate, then so goddamn be it, But it's really exciting. I'm enjoying it. Wati is getting huge numbers through their Facebook page. I think it replays 5 times on Sky TV now. It's constantly getting promotion on Rover. Look, I think that its relevance, just like BHN, is because you've got a lot of citizens in New Zealand, Aotearoa, who are watching some crazy stuff, and they're living in news deserts. I think 24 regional newspapers closed down last year. People don't know what the hell's going on in their own communities, and that's the way the players want it, because they don't want us to be engaged. So it's a privilege. It's a privilege.
There's an interesting. I don't know if you saw this or not. I haven't pre-set this up, but Thomas Coughlan from the New Zealand Herald writing about the new media world. And I've already shared this week, but just for the whānau who weren't here, this is Thomas Coughlan, New Zealand Herald. Apparently, I heard the other day from someone quite trusted, he's got quite close ties, I think either with National or ACT, like there is some connection there between them, unofficially maybe. The Labour world is learning all the right lessons from the Trump campaign. The left has a raft of podcasts, mainly fronted by men, more genteel and less given to mad conspiracy than their American counterpart, which tend to run very long, digging deep into many of the government's flaws. And I just thought, well, there's you and there's us. Is that what's considered a raft of podcasts too, or are they including in the Big Hairy Network whānau of the Craig Rennie and Gary Payne?
I think we collectively are rushing to the gates to defend the keep. I think that there is, if we want to win, we have got to bring men back from those reactionary assholes who have taken our brothers to that side. And there's got to be a place on the left where they feel that they can be part of and welcomed into the wider whānau. And that's an important part of the next election. And we've got to work towards that. The kind of new echo change, the new environment and the landscape of the media world has become more necessary than ever before, because I think one of the first things you've got coming up is the interview, the long interview with Luxon on ZB. And oh my God, it's just, you referred to it as ZB talking points. And I thought, no, surely not.
Yeah,
and I listened to the entire show, and you're absolutely right. He's giving nothing. He's not explaining anything in terms of what's happened to the economy and why we're going through such a slowdown right now because of the National Party's policies. Not. They keep saying, "Oh, it's Labor's fault. It's Labor's fault." No. Labor borrowed big in a once-in-a-century pandemic, right, to get us through all that. And it was voting. Let's remember that National voted for the entire time. So let's not pretend otherwise. The things that are going on right now economically are Nationals policies. The bitter harvest of Nationals policies, and he refused to even acknowledge that in the ZB interview.
I'm eating an apple. I agree, though. And the thing that I found most interesting about watching that, and I'll watch it so Whānau don't have to, is when he said, and I'm just looking at it to make sure I get the quote right, it's on the show notes tonight, when he said, I love this kind of format. It gives me a chance to go a bit deeper. Whilst he didn't even, he went so the opposite. He tried to scratch the surface and his finger missed. He didn't even scratch the surface. There was no depth whatsoever in what he did. And he thinks that's going a bit deeper, yet they avoid us. All right.
Oh, well, yeah. They're not going to go to places where they're going to be critically analysed for what they're doing. They're just never going to play that game. But I think that's why BHN, that's why the podcasts in your stable, that's why so much of this new media that's coming forward, it's so necessary, because if you're simply relying on what you're getting from the mainstream media, I don't think you're going to understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah. No, I think it's right. And also, we, and maybe you, maybe since you've become cancer-free, are a bit the same. Everybody knows where we sit politically. So we're not playing this game of, I just ask the questions, I'm neutral. It's like, we're not. Now that you know we're not, let's have the conversation. So.
That's right. We're not going into this pretending to be neutral. That's not the point. You can't make some allegation, they have a hidden left-wing agenda. We're very open about our left-wing agenda, right? So let's stop pretending and actually have a discussion and a debate about it.
Yep. All right, Whānau. Let's just very quickly say huge thanks to all our patrons. Love you to bits. If you want to be a part of what we do, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. We're still working on the Patreon. We're going to change the community around a little bit and give you guys more access in the backgrounds. I've been pretty slack at that. But when I tell people, I kind of apologize for how slack I've been. All of them go, that's not why we're patrons. We're patrons because we just want to support the work you guys are doing. And I was like, I love you. And then I cry a bit, and then I keep going.
Then I have another tub of ice cream, and I cry a little bit more, and have some more ice cream, and that's okay.
Yep. And the other thing that people can do, and I know Bomber, you're a lover of some of the merch, is
oh my God, I love wearing BHN merch. I love representing.
There you go. There's the Foursquare. That's
gorgeous.
The new one coming up. But what we're doing is just to let people know, it was kind of surreptitious is the wrong word. It kind of happened by chance. That I did a test run of some new vinyl, and it was a pink BHN like this, because we all know Emily just loves pink, and I thought I'll make it for Emily. I made it for Emily. I showed it to her. I showed it to the patrons, and they went, we like that. So we're doing a limited run of the pink BHN before we bring back the OG red, which is going to come back, but we're going to do this limited run of pink. And if you're interested, we have probably got enough for another small run. Like, it could be gone by the end of the weekend. No pressure, Whānau, never pressure. But if you're someone who's interested in getting the pink on black, it may be gone by end of the weekend, beginning of next week. So jump into bhnshop.nz, get in while you can. And it's pretty, I'm looking straight. I've got a whole bunch to pack tomorrow. So if you've already ordered, there's a chance that you might get yours put on the courier tomorrow.
The coolest thing in the world.
Yep.
Is when you're out and about and you've got some BHN on and you see somebody else who has it, and you immediately, and you go, hey.
It's one of the reasons I personally like the stuff like this, which is a little bit more surreptitious. You know, wearing that in town, you wouldn't know what it was unless you know. I kind of like those, or like the buffer gear. Wearing the buffer gear, you sort of wouldn't know unless you know, and that's even cooler. Yes. The funniest one, Bomber, and I can tell you because everyone else knows this. We said this a couple of weeks ago. I was walking into a supermarket in Dunedin, and walking out of the supermarket was a BHN hoodie, and I went, "Hey, good shirt," and I kind of kept walking, and I heard, "Can I have a selfie?" from the background. Yeah, sure. And he was a guy, I think his name was Kent. Forgive me, Kent, if I got that. A guy who came down from Waikato for 2 days to help his daughter settle in university and thought, I wonder if I'll see Pat when I'm in Dunedin, and ran into me at the supermarket. So it's kind of cool.
Beautiful.
It's kind of cool.
Beautiful.
All right. I feel like we should focus now because we could just chat for the whole night, which would be a lovely show, actually. I was actually thinking for a second, Bomber, this afternoon. I thought, should we open up the Discord and just do Channel Z talkback all night? But we'll just keep going. Why don't we talk about, that's with a small one. I'd start with a decent sized one. What's a decent sized one? Oh, let's do Luxon. Let's do Luxon. Let's start off with the Lucky Luxon. Luckety Luxon. Cluckety Cluxon. Mr. Luxon was on Newstalk ZB today. And you know what I also saw when I was watching this show? I'm like, fuck, these adverts suck. One question, Nick. I used to work there. I know what 9 ad breaks an hour feels like.
Yeah.
But actually watching it since you've been out of it, it's like, man, this kills conversation. Even Kerry Wood in the conversation was like, I'm so sorry for all the ads. I'm like, dude, they're what's paying you that hundreds of thousands of dollars salary you get. What a killer, man. What an absolute killer. Right, we're going to have a look at a couple of things, then we're going to delve off into some we call them facts that Mr. Luxon and Kerry Wood don't seem to know about, but we'll pull some of those back in during this conversation. The first part of the conversation we're going to play, though, is talking about nursing and the restrictions around nursing and what's happening with nursing, because this government keeps telling us we're doing this, and it feels like we keep hearing from the medical fraternity, you're not doing anything. So it was to her credit, Kerry gave a few soft pushbacks. She certainly at the end talked about, because you certainly don't want to see the Greens and Te Pāti Māori in there, so we know where her bread is buttered. But she gave a couple of gentle pushbacks along the way. Let's hear the conversation about nurses and needing more of them.
Frustrating to hear money has been generously spent in health. In actual fact, there's been huge staffing shortages where I am due to restrictions on replacing staff who leave. And I've heard that from other nurses. Yeah, it's interesting because we've put $17 billion extra in last year. We've put another 7% increase, 6% per capita in 2025 budget. So there is plenty of money going in. We actually have hired 2,100 extra nurses. We've hired 600 more doctors into Health New Zealand. And actually, if you think about nurse pay, for example, it's gone up 74% since 2011. I know, but they're not replacing staff.
No, but the issue is then what you've seen also, though, is attrition, people leaving the system.
Craig Rennie's podcast, I think, last week showed nurses' salaries from, I think, 2011 compared to GDP. And since 2011, they have not had a pay rise above inflation. That's what I meant to say, inflation. So they're actually in exactly the same place today where they were back then. They've had no increase. They've only kept up with inflation and no more for 15 years. So when he says 74% increase, it's like, this is them talking about the 125,000, which we've debunked so many times. It's ridiculous. But look, we'll get to the end of this bit.
It was actually coming down. So it's gone from 14 down to 8%. But your point is a fair one. Where we've got real challenges is in regional, provincial New Zealand.
But it's my 3 nurses who've said,
yep,
I can't work harder. You know?
No, they're doing an incredible job. The nurses are doing an incredible job, and the doctors are too.
The staff who leave are not being...
I don't think this government realises, Bomber, that when someone does an incredible job, it's appropriate to remunerate them and for that to reflect of the incredible job they're doing. Platitudes on Newstalk ZB doesn't pay their power bills. Normally, when people are amazing, they should be remunerated in a way that recognises that, not having to scrounge and fight for 1%, which is what they're looking at.
Being replaced.
Yeah, the thing is, they should be, because there's plenty of money in the system and there's plenty of extra people in the system, and we've got to now try and get the third medical school's a desire to get the provincial doctors out and the nurses out, and we've got challenges in mental health and some specialist roles as well. So that's
why aren't they being hired? If there's money there and nurses there, why aren't they being hired?
Well, they are. There is just not in this particular circumstance.
Three particular circumstances.
Yep, get it. But I'm just saying to you, in aggregate, there is now 2,100 extra nurses in the system on top of what we had when we started.
And I think that's
the question is though, like if I say I've put 100 litres in, but my pool is 1,000 litres, it's not enough water. It's not enough water.
And that's what's fundamentally just so deceptive about this entire debate, right? All of the numbers that he's throwing out, yes, they have hired that extra amount. Yes, they have put that extra amount of money in. No one's suggesting that isn't the case. What we're suggesting is that they put that extra money in, but they were asked for so much more to be able to pay for the aging population and the increase in people, the population growth, right? Yeah. So they say, yes, we'll put this extra money in, but it wasn't actually what was asked for. What was asked for to keep up with the population and the aging population was far more than what they put in. Yeah. And so he can say we've got 2,000 extra nurses. Yeah, but we needed 4,000, mate. Yeah. Right?
And that's what we're going to go into.
Yeah.
We're going to go into the facts. Something else that I haven't actually shared yet, and I'll do this. Do you see what I'm holding in my hands here? 2 pages. Yeah. A nurse wrote me, and I'm now putting it away so you can't see the name. A nurse wrote me a 1,157 word email about what nursing's really like today. And after we hear from Luxon telling how good they're doing, I'm going to read you maybe not quite half, but maybe 40% of this, obviously taking away all the identifying information to actually hear from a nurse how great it is that Luxon's telling them. So this has got about 60 seconds. We'll get to this clip and then we'll go into that.
It's a real problem when you say we've got more nurses and you go, not next to me when I'm on the ward.
That's what I'm admitting.
Or the economy's doing better, not in my household.
No, that's right. And so I get that. I really understand
it's an okay
that.
Pushback.
I've got to try and solve initially from where we were, where we're losing 14% of our nurses every year out of the New Zealand healthcare system, to a place now where we're losing 8%, which is about sort of what normal attrition would be. I've got to do everything I can to put the money in at a system level, but I agree with you completely. You know, we have big gaps of support in key parts of our healthcare system, and we've actually got the money going and we've got the people being hired, but they're not being deployed in the right places, or there's more work to do to get them perfectly deployed into the right places. So
who fixes that?
Well, so for example, you know, we know we've got a challenge in provincial and rural health in New Zealand, right? It's really hard because you get efficiencies in a big city and you can end up with postcode lottery as a result.
Yeah.
So
which is what we have got.
Yep. And so what we've done is said, like, if you're a GP in a regional New Zealand area, we will give you $20,000 to go off and actually hire that extra nurse that you might need. We're trying to put 450 more nurse places into what's called nurse practitioner or nurse prescriber training to build out the system that we're going to need for the future. But you're also changing the wheel while you're driving, and there are shortages in key places across New Zealand as every day, and that is the reality of the system right now. And that's why I keep coming back to, you can put the money in, you can put the people in, but if you've got a massive bureaucracy that actually then isn't focused on getting that through the bureaucracy out to the front line to support our doctors and nurses who are doing a kick-ass job, that's what we've got to work on.
So one of the things he obviously banged on about, like he's constantly banging on about, is money to the front line, getting out of the back room, money to the front line. So Bomber, you've already said the number, 4,000 nurses short. This was as this government was coming in. Grown to 4,800 short. So putting 2,100 in sounds great. We need another 2,700 on top of that. We have 100 litres of water going into our spa pool. There is a lot more to go. And what this government's doing, and obviously we're lucky enough to be connected to people in the industry now doing podcasts on this network, is that they say, no, there's no hiring freeze. There's no hiring freeze. And what's happening is in a hospital where there might be 30 or 40 vacancies, they're allowed to hire 1 or 2. So in other words, they can say, we're hiring people every week. Yeah, but not to the standard or the level that we require.
And the other thing that's really important to understand in all of this is that a lot of that extra money that they keep claiming and keep pointing to pouring in, that's not going to public health. It's going to private health companies, for-profit companies. They are stepping in and they are getting more of the public health purse pushed their way in really cushy deals. And this is part of a privatization agenda aimed at public health that we're having in public education, that we're having on our roads with mass surveillance networks now. This is an ongoing privatization agenda, and it's not explained that way because the ideological framework is considered too complex by news producers in the mainstream. So it's never explained actually that this is part of a privatization agenda, right?
Yeah.
It just is.
And unfortunately, I mean, like, with all due respect, I would welcome him on email this week again to Simeon Brown. Love to come on and talk about the nurses. No reply. No reply. Here's some more information being out there. So the back room front line, out of the back room into the front line. This is from the NZNO. Recruitment has now been paused on all hospital roles that are not patient facing. So these are the backroom officers, and all public health roles that are not community facing as part of the cost cutting. Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora says new measures will not impact frontline services. New Zealand Nursing Organisation Chief Executive Paul Golter says it appears that little consultation has been done on this change and what it means for frontline staff such as nurses. Health New Zealand Te Whatu Ora should have spoken to unions before going ahead with this move. It is inevitable that this recruitment freeze will impact frontline services. It will lead to understaffing in support roles such as admin, IT support, laboratory testing, data collection that will directly affect frontline staff. These roles are the ones that support frontline workers to do their jobs well. Health is a system that needs both frontline and non-patient or community-facing roles to work well. And I don't think it could be said any better. I've always used the example, could you imagine your primary school with no caretaker? How would that fall over in the space of just a day or two? This pun from RNZ goes on to talk about the freezing roles that we've just said, one very quickly. A nurse at the Southern DHB told RNZ a role in their department had been empty for about 10 weeks after a colleague left, even though a manager requested they be replaced almost immediately. Normally approval would take about a week, 2 at the most. She wanted Te Whatu Ora to be honest about what was happening. An internal Te Whatu Ora recruiter who asked not to be named said many of her colleagues had been in tears as they spoke to angry clinical managers, wondering why nothing was happening about roles that needed to be filled. The managers had been initially told the freeze did not apply to clinical roles, but recruiters have been told to pause everything.
Of course.
Everything.
Of course. Of course.
I've got this email I want to read, but do you want to say anything about that stuff before I get into it?
No, please. I'd really like to hear this.
So 1,157 words. Obviously, I'm taking out all the identifying information, including what kind of ward they work on. So I won't even say, is it cardiac? Is it what? I'm not even going to say. So I've been told in this email all about the ward that this nurse works on, and goes on to say this. It's a heavy ward whose patients have very complex needs. In most cases, very complex need in most cases. We are struggling. We've had, I think, 6 nurses leave this year. They've hired 3, only 1 new graduate, but the funding for the others had been declined. We only have 5 nurses on our ward who have been nursing longer than 5 years, which means greater than 75% of the nurses on my ward are juniors with less than 3 years experience in New Zealand. We do our absolute best for our patients, but the lack of experienced nurses is evident, which also means that the average nurse is absolutely not earning anywhere near the 125k mark that this government claim. I'd be surprised if our charge nurse earns that, more than that, and she's been in the game a long time. We are short-staffed all the damn time, is literally in capitals. I was injured on the job a couple of weeks ago. at a night shift. We were two nurses short. I had 11 patients, all with quite high level needs, multiple IV medications, all due at the same time, etc. A patient spilled something on the floor and failed to let anyone know. I went in to answer a call bell and slipped over, and it sprained my wrist quite badly as I put my hand out so I didn't smash my head on the metal rail of the patient's bed next to the space. And bruising my hip. Things could have been much worse if I'd hit my head, that's for sure. I went down to ED to make sure it wasn't broken, which thankfully it wasn't, but I had to return to the ward to finish my shift in 7 out of 10 pain. I couldn't have adequate pain relief, only paracetamol and ibuprofen, as per the protocols. If I'd had any opioid analgesia, I'll say, I would have been deemed unfit to return to my patients, which was not an option. I couldn't leave the 2 other nurses to finish my workload of medications. I still had to complete all my patient documentation and file an incident report for my fall so I could be covered by ACC, then hand over all my patients to the morning nurses. I'm still in pain, have weekly hand rehab, and am very, very angry. Management were aware of the short staffing before we even arrived for the shift, but they couldn't do anything to help cover us despite wanting to. Then there's a paragraph about pay. The point gets made that most nurses are actually not full-time. They're on 0.8 because they can't physically do any more, which means even when you're hearing 125, if that was right, it would be 0.8 of that. It wouldn't be 100, but it's not 125,000. Last paragraph. My point is we are seriously struggling, not just as a profession, but as individuals too. I'm sick of this shitty government, their elitist, entitled bullshit. I can't understand how so many people buy into their lies and continue to support them, despite being fucked over by them all the time. I'm sick of being sworn at, spoken down to, having urinal bottles thrown at me, being punched in the face by dementia patients when we have to change their soiled pads, adult nappies. I even had one patient pull out her own stoma pouch. I'm assuming that's for someone who passes their food into a pouch rather than out the bottom, full of feces, and attempt to throw it at me because I was unable to answer their call bell fast enough. And why couldn't she answer it fast enough? Because I had 4 other high-need patients to look after at the same time. I've been threatened with violence, spat at, called names, all for what? A system that thinks I should be grateful for this treatment because I actually have a job when others don't. Told that I knew what I signed up for when I became a nurse. It's all part of the job, and I'm being selfish and greedy for wanting to be able to pay my bills and save for the future. Last bit, 3 lines, most important bit. This government don't give a flying fuck about us or the public. It's getting to the point where chats around the break room are turning from any plans to move to Australia to what professions we could or would do when we leave nursing. 1,157 words, you've got about half of them. Mr. Luxon, I hope you get a copy of this video. Be nice to get some response to the actual nurses rather than the echo chamber of people believing what you're saying about nurses. Any thoughts, Bob?
I really think that part of the adaptation that the left needs to pick up in terms of moving forward is an appreciation of those who work for the state and the incredible importance that they play in our egalitarian liberal progressive democracy. I'm someone who believes that there needs to be a 15% pay rise across the board for nurses, for doctors, for public servants, for the bureaucrats there, for the firefighters, for the police officers, for the teachers, the people who are actually the backbone and the muscle of the kind of services that we all collectively need and are also important to us. We've actually got to do our public servants so much more good. We've got to look at 4-day weekends. We've got to look at more mental health days off. We've got to look at more holiday time. We're never going to be able to compete completely with the Australian wages. We're never going to be able to compete completely with the American wages. So let's give a quality of life in terms of our conditions here, and you start that in the public sector, and then you move to get it into the private sector. But to be able to do that requires us to tax the rich. And when you look at what this government has done, they have borrowed more than Labor. But the reason why they've borrowed more than Labor is so they can give their mates great big tax cuts and landlords tax loopholes to be able to exploit, and their mates in the tobacco bloody industry hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies. So there is a way to be able to do this. There is a way to be able to pay people like that nurse, who are the bloody heroes of our country, the people who teachers who are working in bloody low socioeconomic areas, the policemen who are having to try and, tie together wounded communities, the people who are out there doing the work that makes the egalitarian state what it is. We should be giving them some more love. And there's a way to do it. It's just the right go, nah, fuck it, we want the tax cut, thanks.
100%. Yeah. Couldn't say it much better, so won't even try. We'll just jump into the next conversation with Mr. Luxon, because we do have one more clip to play.
Yeah.
The last clip, we've just got one other one to play. And actually it was, again, Kerry Wood. I know where she sits politically. Personally, I think she's a pretty horrible person from personal experience. But she does a couple of things here, and she pushes back. And this is based on someone does a talkback call, they phone in, and they basically go, when, Mr. Luxon, when are we going to see all these things you're promising? And Luxon, I don't know if you picked up on this, Bomber, I should have had it queued up. He said last week, we own this now. He was talking about inflation. We own this now. And I think he admitted that last week, and they're trying to walk it back already, because the economy in general, you own this now. But when it doesn't suit, they still seem to want to blame Labor. And when it suits, they kind of go, well, 5.2 is pretty good. It was supposed to be 5.4. Look how good we are. So yeah, a caller who you can hear is at I would suspect the caller is still not someone necessarily politically, ideologically we would sit with, but it's a bit like in America, how even the people who voted for Trump are going, what have we gotten ourselves into? The people who voted for these guys still haven't got what they've been promised, and they're now going, when? So that's pretty much that.
I'm been working 45, 50 hours a week, Monday to Friday. I own a business and I run that in the weekends. Christmas time, I am pulling the pin of running my business because of all the tax that I have to pay. Tax, ACC, I'm sure you know, GST and everything else. My wife and I, who run the business, in and out of hospital, left, right and centre, because our bodies can't hack it anymore. We've been doing this for 10 years. And I know
if only you had a decent public health system, mate, that might help a little bit, with those taxes and all that.
you didn't put us into this situation, but I tell you what, people are sick and tired of hearing all the stories that you and all your other guys say, you're going to do this, or we've done that, or the reason why we're in the situation is because of Labor. When are things actually going to stop being talked about and actually happen? Because I'm going to run myself into a grave. I've got grandkids who adore me and love me and want me to be around.
Absolutely.
Yet I am struggling, and I work 80 to 90 hours a week.
And that's it. That's what I was saying
exactly
before, that disconnect between hearing that the economy's doing better. He's exhausted.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's really tough. It's really hard. And this is the consequence of a recession that we've had for 3 years. It's been the toughest since the early 1990s. That is the reality of what's happened in New Zealand.
Answer, Luxon. He's looking for an answer, not for you to explain what you see right now. What's the answer? When's it going to happen?
And, you know, there you've got a situation where someone's working incredibly hard, cannot get ahead.
We know
and that's
this.
putting
He
huge
just said
stress and
this.
pressure into their life, into their family's life. And I get that and I understand that. That is the consequence of not managing an economy
We
well.
were told survive to 25. Here's 25. When will people start to feel better?
Well, what I mean, again, this doesn't help an individual circumstances going through a really difficult and tough time. But at the macro level, the economists are saying to us, we're peaking with unemployment. We're expecting 2.7% growth. We're expecting to create 240,000 jobs in the next 4 years by virtue of the long-term plan, economic plan that we've put in place and that we've been implementing. But you've got a challenge here. One is we've got to run the economic stuff really well, which is the big picture stuff, which all sounds very numbers trace. We've got a plan for how we grow the future and get more wealth into the country. But in the short term, you've got people wrestling with the cost of living. They had 3 years of inflation going through the roof. Like life is hard, right? Yeah. So we can support the cost of living the best we can in targeted ways, but we've got to get growth into the economy so that people can get ahead.
And when?
Well, we expect unemployment to start trending down. It's supposed to peak now, come down, and then we expect growth to be taking place 2.7% over the next 4 years on average each and every year.
So that phone call and conversation was just under 3 minutes. He probably had 2 minutes of it to give an answer. He still didn't really answer it all the way to the very end. And two things I was going to say.
Yep.
Is the caller is a part, unfortunately, of that echo chamber that you didn't put us in the system, is what he said. It's like, actually, there's been some decisions made, and Bombers, you already mentioned some about tax refunds that have absolutely contributed to this situation. And the thing that our lovely Chewy always says, and let's give him credit because he says it, is that these guys are not the government of business. If anything, they're the government of big business.
Yeah.
So that guy working his ass off 7 days a week. I mean,
that's
Rama,
right.
You and I, we working and we do our own stuff and we run our own things. You know, they're not the government. Well, I don't think they're the government of business anyway. But if they were, it certainly wouldn't be of small business. It would only be big business. That's why, and I know someone pointed this out to me the other day, behind fucking Nicola Willis, when she's having press conferences, there's a model of a Fonterra truck. That's why that's there, because they are the party of big business.
Yeah, Labour does well for capitalism. National does well for capitalists. The National Party uses small business morality for big business interests. They do we're a household and we can only spend as much as you, and they play to that small business morality. And that business owner, my God, what a tragedy. What an absolute tragedy for that bugger, right? He has poured his heart out. That is a New Zealander and a Kiwi. Okay, he might not be our voting and not part of our tribe, but he's part of our village. And he's just trying to get ahead. He's done all the things right. He's worked and he's just absolutely swamped. And he's right. When the economy downturns as much as it has, the amount of tax he's having to pay does really bleed him, right? Because he doesn't have the profits coming in that he wouldn't mind that, right? And so he's getting screwed over. And he's getting screwed over because Nicola Willis is far more ideological and free market than anyone really understands nor appreciates. We see these steep cuts as visionless economics. She sees the steep cuts as the point. That's actually the purpose. This is about amputating the state because they have, as a matter of faith, they believe that the free market will step in and do the job cheaper. Now, the problem with that ideology is that we are 3 sparsely populated islands. We don't have the population density for the free market dynamics of competition to work the way that it does in America, the way that it does in Britain, the way that it does in densely populated areas. So they have taken a great big bloody hammer and a slash into all of the infrastructure spend of the government in the belief that the market would step in. What's actually happened? We've lost 28,000 jobs. 70,000 people have gone overseas. 600,000 New Zealanders are using food banks every single goddamn fucking month. And the damage they've done, the shockwave of that, has caused all of these things to collapse. We've always required the state in New Zealand to step in and be the 40% foundational stone. They're trying to walk away from that obligation. And what's happened is the economy's imploded. That guy can't get ahead because no one's got any money to be able to pay for his services, right? And he represents many small entrepreneurs out there who are just going, what the bloody hell? And this government, all they're hoping for, Pat, is these 215 golden visas. They're going to say yes to all of them. That's $5 million a piece. That's $1 billion they're hoping comes into the economy next year. But it's not clear that the parameters of what those people have to invest in might not just inflame the property market or be spent on bloody crypto. It's not investment into New Zealand per se.
Yeah.
There's just money floating around. God knows what's going to happen. So I think that he's out of his bloody depth. As a CEO, he doesn't know how to deal with bloody Seymour or Winston. He's just going on what Nicola Willis is telling him, and Nicola Willis is here to vandalize the state. She's Ruth Richardson in drag, you know?
I thought Ruth Richardson was Ruth Richardson in drag. Yeah, it's tough. And look, well, this happened the other day when I think Nicola Willis was talking about something that David Seymour had said, and it kind of dawned on me. You know, we've actually worked for some pretty impressive, managers in radio. I mean, some of the people that we've worked under, and I remember one of the lessons, which is always the buck always stops with me. So when Nicola Willis talks about David Seymour and goes, well, actually, David Seymour is responsible for David Seymour's words. The Prime Minister is not responsible for them. I had that thought. I went, actually, Uncle Larry, More FM and Channel Z, he would have taken ultimate response. Any good CEO would go, the buck stops with me. If you're going to be the CEO, Prime Minister, you are ultimately responsible for what your managers say. So actually, they are running him round, and he's not being a CEO. If anything, he's being they're being the superior, and he's being the diminutive. So,
yeah, and I don't think he actually has a vision. I mean, beyond the talking points and we're doing this and we're doing that, but none of that stuff's working because the underlying philosophy that you've adopted here doesn't bloody work, right? And it's not like, this is a new idea. No, we've had this neoliberal bullshit, this cutback of the state. Keynesian theory dictates that as the bloody economy slows, you put more money into the productive. No, they're not doing that. They're plowing money that they're borrowing into tax cuts, for Christ's sakes.
Let's have a look, because there's been a bunch of people who've done super chats. So let's just say thanks to these people and get their ones out there. Some of them are just high. So there's an absent fee for last night. Apparently, Bomber, someone once upon a time decided that when they were late, they had to pay a fee. Nothing to it, but so this has gone on.
You've got a good, kind BHN whānau.
Arvids also says release the Hooten app. I guess that's the the one that I had to also take down. Well, not take down, but put in hide, because
I know.
It wasn't just
it'll
we were commenting
for a rainy
on
day. It'll come out for a rainy day.
Yeah. And third one from Arvid Bomber. What is your I guess that's gripe with Dylan Reeve? Be a bit nicer and charitable, would you please? Unite the left rather than divide it. I have no idea what this is about. You want to address it? You're more than welcome.
No, comrade, fair call. I was being a bitch.
There you go. Owned up to it. Just ordered a fuck around, find out t-shirt. Good on you, Kiwi Bird. Well done. Gareth, with Luxon, it seems it's thank you for your sacrifice rather than thank you for your service. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Gareth. I quite like that one. Thank you for your super chat. Wahiki says all these nurses are coming from overseas, immigrant nurses now at 51%. How about a focus by the government on investing and growing our own nursing workforce? The thing I was going to say to you as well, Bomber, you made the point about it. We can't really compete financially. And I'm sorry, but, I typically go to an analogy that involves rugby because I'm a New Zealand male. It's all I know. But the All Blacks have a really good model. And that All Black shirt is valued so much by the players that they say to them, if you want to be an All Black, you must play your rugby in New Zealand. You could go off to the UK and earn twice, 3 times, 5, or Japan, but actually that All Black jersey is so attractive to these top players, they take a financial hit to stay here and try and wear it. That kind of attitude around nurses and builders, like if we can't match the finances, what can we do to make the doctors
7
jersey?
weeks holiday, more mental health, subsidized housing in those areas, subsidized transport in those areas. There are so many ways that we could actually make the lifestyle better. High, 10% pay rise, put in the extra time, the benefits that you're able to get through super. There are so many things that the state can use its power, its bulk power, in terms of getting incredible deals. Because the whole idea is you want to have a strong public service. You want well-paid nurses. You want well-paid teachers. You want well-paid police officers. You want, well, these are things that we all go, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And we don't have to do it by us paying more tax. We simply take the bloody tax yoke off us, the working people, and we put it on the mega wealthy. And they pay for the subsidization of society that we need and we require. There's a way to do it. It just requires political bloody courage.
Yeah. But, we've got that model of we can't pay you the same, but this is so valuable, you'll stay. Make that make us something for the teachers and for the nurses, and maybe we can't play the same, but we've got something for you that's going to be so valuable to you, you're going to stay. Whatever that thing is. A 4-day week.
Let's go 4-day week,
Scruffador says, I forgot the banner. I'm assuming the banner at the bottom. It's there now. Hopefully that's okay with you people. We've got producers up the wazoo here. Bomber. Danger of Mouse. Well, you mean tax wealth more, tax work less? Oh, there's a good t-shirt there somewhere that's got some. You could go and check it out. MP pay rates used to be based on a formula based on the quarterly employment survey for the public sector.
That's right. That's right.
Realised last night as well, actually, Bomber, many of these politicians, they build wealth being politicians. They have enough money that they can, buy multiple houses. Not all of them, obviously, like Luxon's coming with money and Key came in with money. But a lot of them build wealth by being a beneficiary of our money.
Yes.
And whilst they're doing that, they're telling us that if you're a beneficiary, you shouldn't be able to build wealth. While they are beneficiaries of our money, building wealth. There is something wrong with that formula.
There is something wrong with that formula, but I am all about paying our politicians well. I don't want them bribable. I don't want them open to bribes. I don't want them open to big money. I want them to be well paid enough so that they're in a position where they can look back without, fear or favor and make decisions for the rest of us, I just wish that we would give our actual beneficiaries and our disabled and our job seekers the same level of care and love that we give our politicians. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so it's not about pulling the politicians down; it's about lifting the others up.
Yes,
so,
right.
It's the same way.
I mean,
it's the same way.
These new welfare bloody sanctions that they are putting on people are fucking disgraceful, man. Yeah. They are. The whole system is not designed to help people get jobs. It's designed to trip them up and say, "Aha, you've run foul of the rules. You now owe us money. We're going to take that welfare off." I mean. It's actually built to be obtuse and difficult and scary and full of fish hooks that it actually stresses people out being on welfare. And you're just going, why in God's green earth would you stress vulnerable people out at a time when you've got rising unemployment? And let's not forget, last year, one of the first things this bloody government did, they ruled out the dual mandate for employment, right? So they said, no, we're not doing that. Reserve Bank is going to be focused on one thing, screw unemployment. And the unemployment goes up, and we're still punishing people who are on welfare. You're the ones who created the bloody unemployment,
There's a few more super chats here, but we'll keep moving and get some of your other guys as we go through the night. Hey, I'd like to talk about this topic to do with Alan Tamati. We talked about her last night and the situation going on there. Now, Don Brash spoke to some new up-and-comer this morning who's doing some kind of internet thing. I don't know too much about him, Karen Plunkett or something like that. I'm not totally sure who he is. So I'm going to play some audio for you shortly. But I thought I'd go have a look last night, and I found all the details of exactly where this image was. There is a conversation to be had about, I understand there's no privacy in public, right? That's a thing. But then being able to make money off taking a photo of someone in public, there's another whole conversation to be had there. But this is the photo, and they got it from iStock. This is the place they got it from. Brash confirmed that this morning, and it says up in the top corner, this image is for editorial use only. And on their terms of conditions, it says editorial use. You may not use consent marked editorial use only for any commercial, promotional, advertorial, endorsement, advertising, gambling, betting, gaming uses, or merchandising purposes. So it's an advertorial. It's exactly what it is. It's an advert for their thing. They're not allowed to use it. They're in breach of all sorts of clauses. Sorry. Jumped out at me there, jump scare. The other thing which was interesting to find out, Bomber, and I'm sure you're all over this, is Jordan Williams' name comes up. Jordan Williams is behind that advertising campaign. Let's have a listen to. I'm sorry about this, Whānau. You could dip out for 90 seconds. I understand if you want to, but it's mostly Don Brash talking about the advertising. I don't want to call it a campaign. The billboard, and yeah, it is like grandpa let his grandchild run something and wasn't aware of the rules, sort of thing. That's what it comes off as.
Do you think in retrospect that using the image of a woman and attributing to her a political point of view without knowing if that was her political point of view in a very public billboard was a miscalculation?
Sean, if I had my time again, I would ask for an AI designed photograph or picture of a totally non-personal.
So if we can race bait and make a racist statement, but it's not a real image, that makes it okay. We're fine with that then.
That would have been a safer option, no doubt about that.
Okay. Was it you that did this or an advertising agency?
The person who does, or the company which does our billboards, design
Person. Notice he said person, singular, the person.
the ad for us, and I must confess I didn't think to check that the woman was a real person and might need to be
So
comfortable with the ad.
Lumo Billboards made this ad for you?
No. We have a company which organises our campaign. They made the ad for us.
Okay, who are they?
Lumo, sorry?
Who are they?
I don't we need to know that name, do we?
I'd like to know. I think transparency is a great thing.
Okay, that's true. Okay, it's called the campaign company.
That's the company run by Jordan Williams.
That's correct, yeah.
So Jordan Williams has his fingers all over this. There's one other thing I want to play you, because Sean Plunkett does ask one fucking brilliant question. I don't think he realizes it's brilliant, but he asks a brilliant question. This is Don Brash talking about there are many Māori who agree with us because numbers are a general role, and I'll come back and then I'll play you the question, then I'll throw it to you, Palmer.
Well, we're not putting the campaign, obviously. We're strongly opposed to Māori Wards, and that's the message we're going to be pushing in the next couple of months when the elections are going on. So that's a very important campaign. We're not about to pull that campaign at all. I mean, let's face it, a great many Māori agree with us. Half the Māori in the country, after all, are on the Māori electoral or on the general electoral roll.
Okay. No, we don't need to see imagery for the last one because there's no photos, and there's no imagery, and I'm not going to give the platform any money to get the full interview, but half of Māori are with us because they're on the general roll. Well, causation, correlation, don't know about that. But then, this is the question. This bit's only 7 seconds. You ready for this?
Yeah.
So this is the question that Plunkett asks, and it's brilliant, and he doesn't realise the brilliant point he's made.
Okay, could you not find any Māori that don't like the Māori Wards?
Because of course. Like, they don't exist. And so I did, whatever happens in that interview after that, I don't know because it cut off then, but it's like, no, you couldn't. So you're saying that this person doesn't need their mana, whatever the thing was, for their ward, but you couldn't find a Māori to stand up and front that. And whatever the answer to that question was would have exposed that because they're not around. Bomber.
Let's give the devil his due. I mean, I know Sean Plunkett gets a lot of stick, and a lot of it is, just
well
Sean
deserved.
But there are times when he can ask a bloody question and he hits, full. And there were a couple of times there where he really bloody pushed him back. Look, beyond the offensiveness that's been created by taking this woman's image and twisting it for this political purpose. It's a little. I find this whole situation more insidious than that, because that point that Sean just made there, you can't find any Māori who'll actually stick. What that billboard says to you is, oh goodness, if a Māori, if that you believe that Māori woman believes that comment and that statement, right? And you look at the billboard and go, oh, if she doesn't want Māori Wards, maybe I haven't understood. it's suggesting that these Māori actually are against this, when the reality is, I think you would be hard pressed to find any Māori who are against the Māori Wards. And Bill and Brash's point there. Oh well, almost half are on the general roll. No, that's not an endorsement.
No, it is. Because I'm claiming them. They're on my side. I'm claiming them. They're with me.
How could you even claim that? What? Firstly, it's. I think the majority is on the Māori roll in New Zealand, right? Mm-hmm. The majority of Māori on the Māori roll, just over 50%. That's the first thing. The second thing is whether Māori are on the Māori electorate or the general roll doesn't mean that they support Hobson's pledge. Yeah. That's dementia. That's That's not a rationalised point.
Well, it did sound like talking to Grandad during that, and I'm sure you have as well. Interviewed Don Brash 15 years ago, and it sounded like fucking Grandad then. So it must be great Grandad by now.
I just think the entire, and this is to Matthew Hooton's brilliant point when he made some time ago. This whole idea that Hobson, because now we're one people, that he uttered that line. That somehow that meant everybody who was signing go, yeah, we're signing away our sovereignty. It's based on an almost mythological redneck theory that's just not historically true.
I mean, in the old days, you might have had him on your old show, whilst you still had cancer. But just that question of, where's your evidence for this, Mr. Brash? Like, where's because I heard he said something about I like big butts, and I cannot lie. I mean, I've probably got as much evidence that Hobson said that than he said what you're saying, don't I?
Well, I mean, but even if you acknowledge that he said we are now one people, even if you, and I'm not saying he didn't say that. I'm not saying he did. The records say that he did, but to take that as everyone's just signed over their sovereignty, that's ludicrous. It doesn't mean that at all. None of what they were claiming in Hobson's pledge follows from, because their argument is, he said this, so it means that everyone understood that they were one people and they were signing away their sovereignty, so we shouldn't have these treaty principles and we shouldn't allow the treaty to impact us and we shouldn't allow... They're making these huge conclusions based on a completely flawed historical understanding of what Hobson bloody said,
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's do a few chats before we go on. There's some chats that were there earlier as well. Kiwi Bird, what I would say to you is, I'm wealthy and sorted. Mutta says, every time you guys get a politician on your shows, you need to ask them if they use the public health system, and if not, why not? There was a bunch of doctors, Gary was one of them, who signed an open letter that basically said, for the rest of the term, use the public health system. See how you like it. Yeah. So very, very, very much so. Better a self-sustainable country, says Justin. Yes, vote yes for Māori Wards. It will make Don sad.
Yes.
Raywin says, taking someone's image without permission is so wrong. This must be illegal. Well, it's not illegal. I mean, there's no privacy in public. People are allowed to take your photo, but there is still a jump to, and then making money off that. It's the laws are strange around that. Wooming says the Atlas Circle is now complete.
Right.
Actually, we didn't talk about that. What do you think about fucking Jordan Williams having his tentacles all over this? Not surprised?
Well, he's got his tentacles over everything. I mean, this is that he's working with Hobson's pledge should not surprise anyone. He was instrumental in helping Groundswell get ahead. He was instrumental in getting those bot programs. He's instrumental in a whole bunch of things that are going on because the right are here to fucking play, right? They are going to put so much shit through. It is romper stomper season. Their donors have lined up and paid big checks, and now they want their bloody divvies. And so he's out there pumping the hate, pumping the malice, playing to the worst of our natures, and allowing social media hate algorithms to do the rest.
If there are any of those sort of billionaires who want to have a gold visa, who happen to be wanting to support left-wing media sources in New Zealand.
Yeah. Buy a lot of ticket, man. Buy a lot of ticket, brother. You got more chance. More chance of winning lotto.
Dresnort, this is exactly why the fascists love Gen AI so much. They can generate a convincing illusion that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah. And finally, Arvid's again. By Don's logic, he must love Māori since he lives in their ancestral land. Logic and Don Brash don't have to go together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think of Mehdi Hasan? Mehdi Hasan.
I have the hugest, maddest man crush on him. I just think he's brilliant. I just think that he is one of the critical voices of the 21st century. It's really interesting. Whenever he's on Piers Morgan, he's the only one that Piers doesn't try to fuck around with, right? Piers will he gives him his respect because Mehdi's a killer. The guy is such a genius.
Yeah. So part of one of his Zateo shows recently, he has put out there that he was, I think it's debunking the 10 biggest lies of the Israeli government in 3 minutes. And often we jump in and out of these things, but I thought we'd just have a bit of a palate cleanser with Mehdi Hasan and hear he speaks very fast, but he has lots of facts. And if you haven't seen this yet, I'm sure you will enjoy it.
The Israeli government has told so many lies since October the 7th, about October the 7th, about Gaza, about aid, that it's hard to remember them all, let alone keep up. Here, in less than 3 minutes, are Israel's top 10 lies about this genocide debunked. Start the clock. Lie number 1, the Israelis said again and again, including Netanyahu himself to the Nilt Boys, that Hamas was stealing the aid going into Gaza. But turns out, according to Israeli military officials, they never actually found any proof of that. No systematic theft. A study by the US government found no evidence either. Lie number 2, they said this war was about the hostages, about getting them home, and it would stop the moment Hamas released all the hostages, and yet the Israeli hostage families say they were told that Hamas offered on October 9th or 10th to release all civilian hostages in exchange for the IDF not entering the Strip, but the Israeli government rejected the offer. Oh, and Israeli ministers themselves keep saying again and again that the hostages aren't their priority. Line number 3. Beheaded babies, 40 beheaded babies. Even President Biden said he'd seen pictures of beheaded babies, but he couldn't have because there were no pictures, because there were no beheaded babies on October the 7th, nor were their babies put in ovens.
But you got it. Biden probably saw and didn't see things every single day that were in weren't there most of the time. So maybe he did see it, but it just no one else could see it. He saw it, but no one else did. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, hung on clotheslines. They were all lies. Even the Israeli press says so. You know which babies have been beheaded since October the 7th? Palestinian babies in Gaza from Israeli bombs. Line number 4, there was systematic mass rape by Hamas on October the 7th. Now, no one's saying there wasn't any sexual or gender-based violence on October the 7th, but mass rape as a weapon of war, well, the Times of London, a pro-Israel, Murdoch-owned right-wing newspaper, did a deep dive last year. Quote, Israel says Hamas has weaponized rape, but investigators say the evidence does not stand up to scrutiny. The UN Commission of Inquiry said last year that it had not been able to independently verify allegations of rape because of obstruction by the Israeli authorities, and the main Israeli prosecutor on the case has said, in the end, we don't have any complainants. Line number 5, there is a Hamas command and control center under Al-Shifa Hospital. They even put out this video showing what looks like a Bond villain lair under Al-Shifa, but it's been nearly 2 years and we've still seen no evidence whatsoever of that vast structure under Al-Shifa. But we have seen evidence there of mass graves filled with Palestinian corpses. Line number 6, the Rantisi Hospital was used to hide Israeli hostages, and we know this because here, unveiled by an Israeli military spokesman on camera, is a schedule used by the Hamas kidnappers, the Hamas guards, in the basement of the hospital, except it wasn't a guard schedule. It didn't have any names on it. It was just a calendar with the days of the week on it in Arabic. Line number 7, UNRWA is a front for Hamas, which was a claim Israel made and led to the US and other countries getting funding for...
Do you need a break, Bomber? I can give you a break for a few seconds if you want.
No. I love him.
Right.
I love him.
All right, here we go. UNRWA is a front for Hamas.
UNRWA cut. Turns out it was all BS. Not only did the Wall Street Journal, which laundered Israel's lie on its front page, later privately admit that the Israeli claims haven't been backed by solid evidence, but a former French foreign minister who independently reviewed the UNRWA allegations says she was given no evidence by Israel to back them up. Line number 8, you can't trust the number of deaths published by the Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza. Well, actually, you can. The Lancet Medical Journal says you can, and guess who else says you can? Israeli intelligence. One Israeli intel source said, I trust the health ministry in Gaza more than the IDF for these statistics. Line number 9, all those massacre denials. We didn't massacre 15 aid workers, except a Sky News investigation found they did. We didn't massacre over 100 people waiting to get flour, except a CNN investigation found they did. You simply can't believe their denials. Line number 10, we don't use human shields. Hamas...
This is almost the most shocking, and there's video here, so trigger warning. There's no death or anything shown, but just the human shields one.
Hamas uses human shields. Well, Hamas hides under civilian areas, yes, but it's Israeli troops who literally strap Palestinians to the front of their vehicles. In fact, several Palestinians and...
So that was an Israeli vehicle driving. with a Palestinian strapped to the front of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Literally using them as human shields.
Yeah.
Their vehicles. In fact, several Palestinians and soldiers told the AP that Israeli troops are systematically forcing Palestinians to act as human shields in Gaza. So there you have it, Israeli lie after Israeli lie, debunked in less than 3 minutes. You're welcome.
There you go. Mehdi Hasan is the GOAT with this stuff.
He's a hero. Absolute hero.
The GOAT. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, I've heard stories when they talk about the human shields. I've heard stories that the IDF will have a Palestinian in front of them, or they'll send kids down into the tunnels to see if they're explosive. So someone else today said as well, and when I say said today, I know it's probably well known by many, but reminded me that the where the IDF like head offices, like the main military, is in downtown, is in a city area. So what? So that's exactly the same as being in a civilian area, being shielded by civilians. You're right next to a bunch of apartment towers and stuff. So, yeah. And for people who asked, I saw it in the chat. No, that was not sped up. That was Mehdi going hell for leather to get it done in 3 minutes. In fact, we could probably go down to 0.75 and listen to it again one day.
He really does articulate just the awfulness of it. I think that when you occupy a people, it's not just the people who you're occupying who become wounded and traumatized. I think you as the occupier become warped. I think that the terrible things you have to do to justify your existence, the terrible violence that has to be meted out to justify that security, I think that it does something to your soul. The things that the IDF have been accused of doing in this terrible, disproportionate, ethnic cleansing war crime genocide against the Palestinian people, there are rules of law, there are laws of war for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
And they have just so universally breached all the amount of Palestinian children who are shot by snipers in the head, right? Now I don't care what the dispute is when your snipers are shooting children in the head. I just think I don't know what else to call that other than evil. I think that there are so many beautiful, decent Israelis who are as absolutely disgusted with what their government is doing that we are doing, and I have no interest in tarnishing them with the same brush. But the very extreme Zionists really do have a lot to answer for here, and the horror that's being caused there right now it's beyond left or right. It really is. This is a human issue. This is just wrong now.
And you're seeing
our
that
side, our side, you know.
You're seeing that more and more. Like in America at the moment, if you're a Republican under 50, you are well against what's happening in Israel, what Israel is doing. And also, we've been talking about this. You know, as Ireland has said they're going to identify, you know, Gaza as
Palestine.
a state.
Yep, that's right.
Palestine.
Yep.
Canada said it. France has said it. And what happens with some politicians and some political movements is they follow society. I talked the other night, Marty, about same-sex marriage. You know, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were anti it until it swung to being popular, and then they were pro it. And it feels now what Israel has done is they have changed the narrative to being we need to look after Palestinians in Gaza. The civilians, we need to look after them. And so what happens when that popular opinion starts to rise? Well, Netanyahu comes out and says, we are now going to just occupy Gaza. And it's a complete mascot. Have you noticed, Bomber, I'm sure you're like me and you're online all the time. Have you noticed how since Netanyahu said there's been very, very little conversation, especially in New Zealand, from those very loud Zionists about that Israel has the right to defend itself? Have you noticed they've all been very, very quiet on this? Since Netanyahu finally said, no, just so you're clear, we're going to own from the river to the sea. We're officially doing that now. They've all been very, very quiet.
Well, I think even the most rabid defenders are now like, we're talking... It's not just the 60,000 dead or the 15,000 that haven't been counted that are trapped under or the 240,000 that the Lancet say have died from all the secondary causes of having all of your hospitals bombed. I mean, you're talking 300,000 people now.
Yep.
We're in the shadow of a mountain of dead, and it's all happened on our watch. And Netanyahu, because he needs constant conflict, because there are systems and checks and balances. Israel is a democracy. There is a legitimate judiciary in there, and they are having him up for corruption. And he keeps being able to shunt it off because the war stops all of these other proceedings. So he has a political need and requirement to constantly be doing violence. And if he's not starting it there, he's, surreptitiously allowing it to go on in the West Bank. The West Bank, terrible things are happening there. And Trump's enabling the whole bloody thing, So unless the globe stands, the West actually collectively stand against this, I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah, Gold says President Higgins, Ireland, has called for UN intervention in Gaza. I saw that headline the last couple of days.
Yeah.
I've seen no mention of this in mainstream media.
No.
Red Rover says, Bomber, it's so left, it's right. So right, it's left. Gareth wants to know, Gareth wants to check in 2025, isn't it anti-Semitic to highlight Israel's lies and war crimes? Maybe we're still there for some people.
Yeah, well, I mean, and this is the duality of what's going on, right? I mean, on one hand, just normal people are just shocked and horrified and outraged with what's going on, and yet those who are critical of it get jumped on by Zionist groups. I mean, look at what they're doing in Australia and the new laws they're pushing through there. Look at the way they're treating campus, and anyone who's challenging Israel there gets labeled anti-Semitic, and this real push to try and seize control of the internet and go after whatever they decide is anti-Semitic. You've got these two, what's going on in Israel, and then those who are supporting Israel, and it's just two completely different alternate realities.
I've run out of time. I would have done it. Oh my God, South Park's episode tonight. Oh my goodness, tonight Garrison joins ICE. And Christy Nome, this is the latest episode. Christy Nome is featured in it heavily, and her face keeps melting off, and they have to bring a whole crew back in to put her face back on. I won't give you any more. I won't spoil it.
Can I just say
the episode tonight with ICE is like so very good. Yes,
South Park have always been on the cutting edge of satire, and that they have come back and are one of the few who are brave enough to take on Trump. Does my Gen X heart good? It does.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like we always say, there was a conversation between Al Gore and Jon Stewart back in the day when Jon Stewart went, we're a show who the prequel to us is puppets making prank phone calls. Why are we able to say this when none of the news stations will? And Al Gore said, because it's the jester was the only character who could tell the truth to the king without fear of their head getting cut off.
Yeah.
And the best jesters in New Zealand, in the world at the moment, appear to be the guys from South Park. Because they are the ones who, they have no fear. They signed a $1.5 billion contract, and then the next day they shat all over the company that gave them the $1.5 million contract. They have no fear. Anyway.
I love them. I love them.
Because I care, E-Road is one current private company which companies use to track speed, location, and kilometres of their fleets. This popped up now. We're going to do this story next, actually. Howie says, with AI that will twist reality, authenticity, kanohi ki te kanohi, which is face-to-face, nose-to-nose, I think, which will be a currency. Our flesh reality is the only reality. Hayden says, calling it October the 7th is a form of propaganda. There's only one country who puts the month first, and it's not Israel. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for that data.
Appreciate the super chat. Okay, let's do this, because Bomber, it's funny. I'm going to talk about it twice in one show. I was thinking about Channel Z Talkback, right? And I used to walk up to the, whatever it was, the 8th floor.
Yes.
We were doing talk back there.
Yeah,
I'd go upstairs one floor, and I'd do more FM.
That's right.
And I remember that you used to say something to fire off the telecom sensors, something like bomb, terrorist. What were the 3 words you'd say? And there was some system that would track those words when it heard on the telecom phone system.
Echelon. Yes, echelon. Would pick up keywords. It was one of the very early 5i programs that was established in New Zealand. And so they would scan all the time. And so I just throw out some, let's just, everyone just, Bush, bomb, terrorist. Everyone just keeps saying that every time and freak the system out.
And so people would phone up Bomber, and Bomber would go, "G'day, Pat," and Pat would go, "Bush bomb terrorist. G'day, Marty. How are you, mate?" It was like that, and it used to take the system down, didn't it? I remember times where telecom went down. Bad man.
Oh Jesus! I'm surprised they allowed me to live. I really am.
The reason I bring that up is last night we were talking about this new rule for petrol tax, road user charges, and I pay road user charges. I drive an EV. It's a very simple system. I get towards the end of what I've paid for. I then go online. I put another 10,000 Ks in or 5,000 Ks and I pay for it. The police pull me over, and it has happened once, and they look at my warrant of fitness, which has got the Ks that I paid on it, and they want to see my odometer, and they see that I've paid for the Ks so far. When Bishop yesterday started to talking about receiving your bill like you would an electricity bill, we're sitting here, me and Ems last night, going, hang on, if they're sending us the information as to how far we're driven, that would mean they have to track us. And I was of the opinion last night, Fana will tell you, that I was like, there's 3.5 million cars. It doesn't feel realistic that we can set up a system where we'll all be tracked. Surely something's been lost in translation. Well, what was lost in translation was they are going to try and track 3.5 million cars. This is 75 seconds from breakfast this morning when the Bish was talking about it. And there was a particular line where they say the system, this is the quote, that works out where you are and what you're doing. So for this system to work, this government, who remember, this government are the ones that talked about the guys before them who were Orwellian in their control. This government wants all of us to have in our cars a system that will, quote, know where you are and what you're doing. Who thinks, hands up people, who thinks maybe you'll be getting some, at 1:48 a.m. you're doing 62 in a 50 zone. We know that because we're tracking you. Here's your speeding ticket. So let's just have a listen. I've kind of blown it all, but let's have a listen to Bish actually explaining that, because I was not convinced until I heard him actually say it.
Really interesting conversation this morning with AA's Terry Collins. Bish, he was talking about the electronic monitoring, and he's got issues around that, or concerns, I should say, because this is being, the management of this is being put out to a third party, right? So what about the data that is being collected by this electronic monitoring? Who owns that? It's a privacy issue.
It will be, ultimately, the standards will be set by the government. And there'll be potentially a range of competing providers. And I get the concerns around privacy, and we'll be engaging as part of the policy work with the Privacy Commissioner around that, because I understand exactly what people are concerned about. But to be honest, other countries have got this now, right? So if you're in Sydney, put a little transponder on your dashboard. That works out where you are and what you're doing, and then when you go through a toll gantry, it just gives a little beep, and it charges you. It charges your credit card, and you pay at the end of the week or the month or whatever. Sydney, other countries, jurisdictions, they've had that for over a decade. So we're actually miles behind the rest of the world, and some of these concerns around privacy and tracking and things like that, we're really conscious about that, and we're going to work our way through that really carefully to protect against all that stuff.
So it works out where you are and what you're doing. A little thing that just sits on your dashboard.
Yep.
And you go through the toll and it sees you. Okay, so what happens if you live in rural Southland? You're not going to go through a toll and it's going to see you. How are they going to track you? Oh, because it speaks straight to a satellite.
That's right.
And sends
That's right.
So you are literally this.
Yes.
Okay. Conspiracy theorists who voted in fucking Winston Peters. This is the chip that you were worried about. This is the chip that they're going to put in your car to know where you are and what you're doing. This is the time to take all those tinfoil hat wearing conservative blimmin' concerns and actually go, shit, it wasn't in the vaccine. It's going to be on my dashboard. This is the time to activate.
When I was doing the debates last year for the election, end of last year, and I couldn't work out, because I kept asking questions of the candidates, particularly the National Party candidates, because I'd read the policy, and it just seemed to me that their entire shtick was privatising the roads, right? That the National were fully focused on privatising the roads, lifting the speed limits to pretend that productivity would get better, and then just police it viciously, right? And what we've been seeing with the face recognition cameras that have been set up on all the motorways that now have this third-party access to the police, there's been all of these questions. Well, why are you setting up the surveillance? Why are you doing this? Now we have the Bush saying, oh, it'll just be as easy as putting the little bleep on it. This is all part of their privatisation agenda, pushing poor people off the roads, because if you're wealthy enough, you don't mind paying to be able to get to and from something quickly. Taking the money off the petrol, will we really see that money drop as much as I doubt that. We wanted those petrol charges put in place, and we wanted people to have electric cars so that they didn't have to pay the costs, because we wanted more people in electric cars. You want to incentivize people buying electric cars. So there are real questions over, and exactly as Jenny May was pointing out there, who owns this data? Who has access to that data? Can that data be hacked? Will Peter Thiel be running that data? Is he going to be putting, the kind of power that access would give, that level of data, knowing where you go, how you go, who you're seeing, where you're going, that data is so huge in terms of mining potential. And there's no way you can trust the government with that kind of Orwellian power, particularly if they're just going to hand it over to a third party, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. And like I said, if they know, and I'm going to use the quote again from the Bush, where you are and what you're doing, what door does that open up to?
Of course.
So I'm actually a little bit in shock. I feel a bit dumb after what I said last night. Although we did talk this out, I just can't see how it would work. But
I think they've been pushing for this. They have been pushing for this direction for a long time. There are so many spiders and spooks in the intelligence apparatus that are just drooling over the possibility of what this would do. You're able to police in real time an entire population. That's an enormous amount of power to give one government, Yeah.
And of course, then you ask the question, how do you fight back against it? I mean, the way Bish is saying it, it's a little reflected that it'll see, okay, what if I cover it? It's got to be more than that. It doesn't want to be that easily found. So what I don't believe, it's going to be a little, only the cameras at when you're driving past it, because that can't work in probably 80% of New Zealand.
But if they're able to line up that they know where you are, right, from that tracker that's in your car, and they just have to line that up with a facial recognition software that you're going past, they know where you are. They've got real-time surveillance. That's real time. That's real world, real-time surveillance.
And look, I'm being honest here with people. You guys who were so concerned through COVID.
Oh,
like you guys who were like, they're coming for us, they're going to track us, they're going to know it. This is what's happening. Yeah. If you drive a car, if you own a car, this is what's happening. This is now us talking about the reality of this, not you guys talking about the conspiracy theory of injecting it into your arm and becoming magnetic. Now, if we can get past the differences we have on that, right? If we can go, like, honestly, because we've teased you a bit and you've thought we're all arrogant dicks. This is actually a time to activate, because I don't want my car to be tracked 24/7. by a third party accessible by my government?
Yeah.
Orwellian much? It just, no, I don't think so.
And you can see Peter Thiel putting a tender in for this. You can see Palantir stepping forward, go, oh yeah, we'll do that. We'll test that out. Thanks.
Yeah. Over Red Rover, for a government that is against more bureaucracy, build kilometres sounds like more bureaucracy. As Māori know, losing sovereignty is as easy as saying yes. Peter says, I was not banking on us running headlong into a cyberpunk dystopia, but I'm about ready to totally digital detox and go bush. And Magenta, who is watching, I'm sure you'll see Magenta tomorrow night. That's why they need the new FBI office.
Yeah.
That's I was thinking that's kind of tongue in cheek, but maybe not quite so much. Maybe astute observation.
Let's be clear about the FBI base. The New Zealand government begged the FBI to come here, right? That's the problem that the New Zealand police are really good at chasing young people to death. They're really good at hassling young Māori. They're really good at letting white kids off for cannabis. They are the best at that shit. But they do not have the sophistication for the kind of tactics that you're seeing from the 501s and the South American cartels. And they don't have the sophistication to go after the Chinese shadow banking infrastructure that allows vast amounts of money to be able to be traded and move method. So New Zealand begged the FBI to come in and help with that stuff because we just don't have the tools to be able to do that. The problem with allowing the FBI in, however, which is a point that everyone else has made, is that the moment you do that, you're also allowing the CIA in, effectively, to look after their interests in New Zealand. And American interests in New Zealand are not New Zealand's interests, right? So, we've got a problem, particularly our communities are just getting absolutely decimated, particularly up north with meth. And we've got to do something serious about being able to stop the 501s importing as much as they are from the cartels.
It is funny, going back to that Luxon Newstalk ZB conversation, I won't call it an interview, them talking about the successes that we've been being smashing the gangs, more gang members than there's ever been, no more ram raids. And then someone brought up, but hang on, the meth use has doubled. Oh, but international pressures, that's nothing to do with us. It's like, well, okay, come on. Like, I know we've probably said this to you before, Marty, but one of our roles in this show is to hold this government to the standard they held the last government to.
Absolutely.
Or to the standard they set for themselves.
Yes.
Dunedin Hospital is a good example. So that's the very least that we're going to do. And what they did about ram raids, blame Labor, we are all doing and should do about meth increase, blame the National Coalition. So.
Yeah, completely agree.
There's one other here. Ella's got the answer for us all. It's time to train on how to ride a horse, Whānau. There you go.
It is. No, preach.
But on the bridle, they might just stick one of those little flashy transmitters that the Bush is talking about. Maybe. There's one other little story. There's not really much to go with it, but I just saw the headline and I wanted to mention it because we've talked about nurses tonight, and I'd like to mention one of our other public servants, and that's the teachers. Very quick. There's no video. It's just a very quick chat. From an article on Newstalk ZB, primary teachers reject insulting 1% pay rise from ministry. So if inflation's at 2 point whatever it is at the moment, 2.8, that means they're going backwards by around 2% in real money. Primary teachers have voted to reject 1% pay rise from the Ministry of Education. The vote, which closed on Wednesday, resulted in primary teachers overwhelmingly saying no to the collective agreement offer. Teachers and NZEI Te Roa primary teaching negotiation team leader Liam Rutherford said the ministry's offer was essentially asking teachers to take a pay cut. Yeah, there you go. On the heels of government scrapping our pay equity claim, this offer was insulting, and members have overwhelmingly reflected on that sentiment in the vote. As educators, we want to be valued supporters and respect for our work, yet this offer doesn't address any of our key claims or the issues we've spoken up about. Rutherford said the current offer contains no reference to teachers' toi tu te tiriti claim, which would introduce an expression of the obligations and commitments of the parties to Te Tiriti in the collective agreement. He said it also does little to address other pay-related claims to recognise additional expertise or responsibilities that primary teachers may hold, he said. From August 18 to 29, primary teachers will head into mass paid union meetings with other educators, members groups, individual principals, support staff and Ministry of Education and Learning Support to decide on their next steps. And this is all on the back of Crown entity boards getting up to 80% pay increases for the chairs of boards, some going from 90,000 to 162,000. And it's important to remind people about that a Crown entity board chair is not a full-time job. It might be a once-a-month job. It might be a part of other boards the person's belongs to. But they say we value the chairs by giving them an 80% pay increase. We value the teachers, how's 1%?
And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the show, that we need to give all of our teachers and our nurses and our doctors, across the board 10% pay rise and then better conditions. I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous that teachers are being treated like this, that the people who are educating our kids are having to struggle day to day. Well, how does that make them a good teacher,
Yeah.
It's like they're purposely bloody underfunding and knifing every single bloody thing that means something in this country, but they're prepared to bankroll private initiatives into it. I mean, the charter schools, we're not even allowed to know how well they're doing because that's all top secret and commercially sensitive.
They've told the charter schools not to release their roll numbers.
Yes.
If they release their roll numbers, you can go allotted money divided by roll number per student.
Yeah. And they don't, I just think, and this is, this is the thing that frustrates me about the union movement in this country. They should have been fighting to gain the right for a general strike, because I'm going to tell you right now, a 10-day general strike in this country of every single nurse, every single police officer, every single firefighter, every single public servant, you do 10 days and the bloody government will come back and sign any bloody deal, That would do a 10-day general strike in this country would do more for the rights of workers than 10 elections. And I just think that if we're going to fight for a public service that's actually worth the mana of the job that it does, then give those workers and those unions the right to bloody fight back and not get pushed around and used like this, And we haven't signed up to the general strike rules. We should be pushing for a general strike. It's illegal in this country. Well, let's push for it. And then see what bloody David Seymour and bloody Winston Peters and bloody Chris Luxon have to say then. 5-day strike, they will change their minds,
I mean, like, you would hope, and I'm saying would hope, I don't want to be naive here, Marty, but you would hope that if the other side were to get back in, that they will be much more open to the idea of getting the right to a general strike.
Our side are too bloody loving and too bloody caring. We want to sit down with everyone. We want to bring everyone together because we want to build. We want to build on the left. The right want to destroy. The right want to burn. The right want to tear things down. So they don't give a shit, right? They don't care about sitting down and bringing people with them. And so our problem whenever we get into power is we want to do the right thing and we want to bring people with us. And bless and God, look, I support that. But we've got to be as tough as these bastards on the right are prepared to be, And we've got to actually come in with the plans that we're already going to do, the 100-day plan to do it, and get the bloody things done. If we do too much of this, come on, everyone, let's come under, you'd hope that we would have learned the lesson here is to be just as ruthless. But I don't think it's not who we are.
Yeah, and look, you're at some level preaching to the choir here, and not to bore the audience, but since my ZB days, not to evoke that, I don't like evoking that too much. It's like name dropping, but it was I've been saying it the whole time. The right plays politics better. The left, again, because I'm a New Zealand male, I use the rugby analogy. The left seem to be okay getting to the end of the game and go, we played a good game. Well, we lost, but it wasn't that a perfect spiral pass. Whereas the right, they're missing nails because they've been eye gouging and they've been set off. But they've got the win and they don't give a fuck. And we need a bit more of that mongrel. Dude, I've been saying that for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is our season.
All right. Very last couple of chats and then we'll say goodnight for the night. I'm white, says the Danger of Mouse. I was let off with my little tin of stuff and my car wasn't searched for the Oz I had under my seat. There you
go.
Even though that's anecdotal, the research is clear that Europeans use cannabis more proportionally than Māori do. Māori go to get a criminal sentence for it more.
Absolutely.
And for the same crimes with the same background, Māori are twice as likely to get a conviction than non-Māori. Arvid says, tell Chippy to get his stuff together then, Bomber. We do it sometimes.
Working on, comrade, working on it like you would not believe.
Last chat from Big Olby. I appreciate the High Ren by Ren recommendation. It's needed in times such as these. Love your work. Do you know High Ren, Marty? Yeah.
It's manga.
The artist is Ren. Ren,
Yes.
R-E-N, and he's done a song called High Ren. And if you're someone who understands or knows or has been involved with mental health issues, it's a song talking about his journeys and his struggle. It's amazing. One of my favorite things to do is to watch people watching that song. So like people doing reaction videos on YouTube.
Oh, right.
And there are hundreds of them. And they always do this. They go, oh, this is nice. Oh, I like that. And then they go, and there's this realization as to what he's singing about. It's cool.
Okay.
So, yeah. Hi, Ren. You should watch it.
On that.
And then text me. I'll be up until 1 editing, like I always am. All right. I think we're done. Do you want to tell us anything? Is there anything that we need to know about what's happening on Tuesday nights? What's happening in Māori World?
I've got some crazy shows coming up. I don't want to jinx them, but I've got some really insane stuff that you can only see that on the Bradbury Group.
Cool.
That's
exciting.
I'll definitely let you know.
Thanks for joining us tonight, man. Everyone was really excited when you said you'd come on. You are a fan favorite.
Look, I just think that you guys are at the bloody forefront of media in this country. All praise to the BHN. You guys do such an amazing job, and to the audience and the eco society around that you guys are so bloody important to being able to get a different view out there. And to also hold the faith. I mean, it's pretty dark and scary at times. And the community that BHN has been able to create, it's so bloody important. And all power to you guys. We're going to need you in the election. So everyone keep.
We're already in planning mode for next year. And also speaking of the kind of family, Gary Piander's got a podcast out tomorrow where he's talking to the PSA. And they're talking about equity and pay equity and that kind of stuff. So that'll be released tomorrow morning. Awesome. If you're looking for Gary's next podcast, it'll be on the YouTube channel, and it'll be on all the places you get podcasts, Apple Podcast and Spotify and stuff as well. Gary's is out tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. All right, Bomber, it's time for us to play the music because that's what we do as we go out for the night.
Nice.
You can hang around for a bit till the end, or you can go. It's up to you. We just watch the music and then say goodbye to people. People would like to do this, like this. You are amazing. Mark says, "Hello, Ren was fucking awesome on YouTube." Thanks.
Okay.
People are saying, "Look, Shot Bomber, thanks for coming."
Always.
Cheers, Fano. Thanks, Marty. Oh, look, it's all about you. Thanks, Bomber. Thanks.
No. It's you guys. You guys keep the faith.
Bradbury hearing news. There you go. That's in there.
Thank you, comrades. Kia ora. Kia kaha.
Thanks, Bomber. You're the bomb. All right. Well, that's it for us for tonight, whānau. The kids will be in tomorrow night. I've seen Magenta floating around the chat there as well, and I'm sure there'll be lots of memes going on, especially with Mr. Brash, Dr. Brash doing his stuff this week. We're expecting Chewy back on Monday, so I'll see you Monday night for another live edition. I guess, Bomber, they'll see you Tuesday night at 8 p.m. And where's the best place? YouTube, where else?
YouTube, Facebook, Rover, and Sky TV.
Very cool. All right.
Later,
Talk
mate.
to you soon,
Have a good
whānau.
one.
Have a good weekend. Catch you
Thanks,
next week.
mate.
Hey,
Cheers,
bro.
mate.